everybody, welcome back to our energy update for week 25, that is the 16th till 22nd of June 2018. My name is Jona, Bryndis, and this energy update and reflection of collective energies is for energetically sensitives and empaths. Yeah, so welcome to the energies of this solstice week. If you are not familiar with what those solstice energies bring in for the collective, there's an article I wrote about this. I don't really want to go deeper into this right now, but there is something you may notice if you look at this weather barometer here for collective energies. So I'm still waiting for you guys to come online, so I can't see you, but this is a live stream here from Colorado. And let me know where you're from. Please feel free to comment and ask questions at any time. Yeah, and so solstice energies in general, whether you live in the northern or southern hemisphere, bring in a polarization, all right? It's like this inner battle within, as I called it. It brings out truth. It brings things forward. And as energy workers, like self-healers, all of us self-healers and truth seekers are energy workers. This is a welcome time, because this is the time where this veil of, in the matrix that covers up all these human unconscious agreements and implants and attachments that we have, it opens up a bit and it allows us to see truth and to use this for our own growth. So there's a lot of opportunity here. It's an upgrade, as I called it, in the forecast for June energies. But it is also, of course, a time where things can get very conflicted and in some cases even dysfunctional. So last week I mentioned that there was a bit of a stressful, conflicted energy building here throughout the summer. I don't really see this ending until the end of August, all right? And this is only the beginning. This solstice here next week will bring the opportunity for you to clear up some things and to learn something about you, and that is, how to truly tune into your own truth, to have this clear signal from within that you are on the right path. So many of us get distracted by this fear of, living in an illusion, or, not being entirely sure what our vision of ourselves is, or, what it truly is that can give purpose and meaning to our life. And a lot of that has to do with these inner conflicts that we have. Illusion, is part of our ego. And of course, the more we're bound to our ego, to the fears that we have, to the anger that we have, to the pain and the suffering that we have, the more likely we are being pulled into our illusions, simply because the energy level of these states is so low that it doesn't allow us to see the larger picture. So if we want to see the larger picture, the first step towards this is seeing truth. And how do we know that we are seeing truth? That requires us to actually work with ourselves, with our inner signaling system. So I wrote an article yesterday that you may have enjoyed about how to out-vibrate planetary and collective energies by holding our own energies. And holding our own energies is a tricky thing, because we kind of need to know what our energies are. We kind of need to be realistic, if you will, truthful with ourselves, to know the difference between what is ours, what isn't, what is true to us and what isn't. And so that's the testing, the integrity test that is coming forward here for this week. There'll be a massive influx of, things coming to the surface, as we've already discussed here since the beginning of the year, that can help us to allocate ourselves better, to triangulate where we're at on our journey. And therefore also make better choices that are more conducive for our journey, that move us closer to this this vision of ourselves, how we see ourselves in the whole, as part of the whole, and how we can just what we would probably describe as abundance or fulfillment and happiness all participate from this sort of universal divine water hole, you know, this abundance that is there around us. But it requires us to be able to triangulate truth within ourselves. So this is what the work here at transCODES is all about. You know, this is what every energy session, every energy coaching session, every workshop is about. And as most of you know, we've created a whole entire 24-step, 1-year training course. And I wanted to point this out because people come to me with questions, very valid questions, but they can all be answered if we enter into this active self-healing process. All right, these are not questions that I need to answer for you. I'm an energy healer, I'm an energy trainer, I'm an abundance coach, and yes, I can help you on the way. But this signal that you really want to work with who you truly are and what your true purpose is has to come from within you. So to anybody who would like to know how to work this, my standard recommendation is start with the Sacred Self-Healing course, because that allows you on many, many different levels to experience your own truth. And how do we do this? There's several layers of perception and experience that we use for inducing this or providing, facilitating this for you. And that is through daily meditations and energy alignments, through, you know, online meetings where we can discuss subjects that you can't normally discuss with others, where we discuss current energies, where we exchange, you know, what works for us, and also workshops where we work through specific topics. This month, for instance, I think we're talking about how our change, you know, on our journey affects our relationships. One of these big subjects that come up for people, because as they start changing, they realize that there's often resistance there, you know, with our loved ones or in our relationships, or suddenly this doesn't match up anymore. So this will start to become more of an issue here with this coming week. And yes, I can see you now. Welcome to South Africa. Welcome to Australia. Welcome to Denmark. Welcome to Southern California. Awesome. Thank you guys for your kind words, for your encouragement. You know, this is really important for me as an energy worker. I'm not monetizing these videos, but, you know, I really live off your guys' feedback and involvement. Okay, so all that I do here is community-based and is supposed to help people to out-vibrate the collective, so that, of course, one soul at a time, you know, we are raising the vibratory level of the entire collective. And you know, I don't mean this in a kumbaya kind of thing. We don't have to sit together and hold hands and sing together. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is not needed, okay? All that is needed is it's each and every one of us to move into self-responsibility, into accountability for our own energy. And so if you look at the barometer to answer that question, why there is like, is this a mistake? There's 2 arrows there and one is sort of grayish, pointing in the other direction. So the main arrow here is pointing at orange and red. Once more, these are intensity levels. We have increasing intensity, building intensity, emotionality, all right? Back and forth, up and down, you know? Go for it, you know? Run away from it. So this is some of the predominant sort of emotional aspects that will come forward. We talk about this here in the energy tips in a minute. And Netherlands are here too. Good to see you guys. It's really, really cool that, you know, this whole sort of international community that we're building here it works like a grid, you know. Each and every one of you, you know, listening to this kind of material, reading this kind of material, watching the videos, not just mine, there's many other good you know, teachers or transducers out there. But you've got to understand that each of these energy reports, each of the articles, everything that you expose yourself to is a way for you to to raise and hold your energy better. Not everybody needs to know how to raise their energy because you already have a good feeling for this. But many of us need to learn how to hold our own energy. And this is here sort of the theme, the overall theme for this next week, namely, how can we hold our energy in the face of all the stuff that is coming forward, be it in the world, be it, in regards to our planet, or even sort of some of the universal situation that we're in, or in our personal lives. And we want to be able to embrace that. And in order to be able to embrace this, and New Zealand, woohoo! I can't wait till we have our first audience from Iceland. This is my home country, and I've never had audience from Iceland before. So if you are from Iceland, please let me know. New Zealand is the second best place to be in. So for each and every one of us exposing ourselves to higher vibratory material, it helps us to know better where we stand, and in order to be able to embrace truth and to let go of our illusions. This doesn't have to be a painful process, guys. I know that there's lots of ups and downs involved, and this is why we've created this journey here as a 12-month journey and beyond. Okay, this is not an event. This is a process. Okay, this idea of ascension or sudden enlightenment is a ego trap, guys. That's, sending you to the wrong exit. It's all about, the seeing your own truth and then literally growing into your own truth. And that's why next week is going to be a little tricky. It can be either or. It depends on where you're standing in your alignment and how well you can actually align to your truth. So while the majority, the collective, will experience next week as not so good and will trigger a lot of fear in people, hide and run, will trigger this part of our nervous system that, rather goes into coping, something that makes me feel good really quick. Is also the reason why we're going to see a lot of addictive issues. It's also the reason why we will continue to see all these celebrity suicides, guys. I've predicted this last week. This comes with this really strong influx of truth. And while this is an upgrade for all of us, and while this can lead our collective into, an overall higher level of consciousness, all right, on the way to there, we kind of have to walk through some of our own shadows and some of our own attachments. And we talk about this here all the time. Every session here at transCODES is about this. If you, want to check this out a bit and want to get a feeling for how we work with this, then just visit our forum. It's free, and you can read, how we deal with sessions and how we share, how we respond and all that. So anyway, get ready for a little bit of up and down here next week. The theme is end of illusions. And, your integrity is going to be tested. And I'm going to zoom through here which energy centers are going to be affected. And then how we can deal with this, the energy tips for next week. The primary energy centers will be the 2nd, the 4th, and the 5th chakra for next week. With, and this is a bit of a tricky thing, an inhibited 7th chakra. Okay, so our 7th chakra, the crown chakra, which is the part that connects us with the greater whole, and also wants to lead us into oneness, is in a sort of reflective state. It is not necessarily in an expansive state, which means that we have to really be able or willing, let's say, to go into that truth level with ourselves. And that is where the integrity part comes in, because it doesn't matter what you say or what you do, if your alignment is just say self-gain, or greed, or, things that are not necessarily for the greater of the whole, then you won't be able to, enjoy the energy, the water from this divine watering hole, if that makes sense. So your attractive field will be somewhat limited. Yes, and baking your own bread. What a beautiful metaphor here for self-responsibility, self-sustainability, And I'm also experimenting a bit. It is like baking our own bread, because when we, allow our energies to really go with, our creative expression, and in combination with what we truly love doing, if we know what we truly love doing, then abundance is a natural consequence. It's nothing that you need to chase or seek. It is something that seeks you, if that makes sense. So our energy centers will be, sort of throughout, get triggered up and down a bit, all right? So this rhythmic, I think I called this in the forecast, this like in and then then a downer again, and then in and out. So get ready to just serve all that, and to like ride out these little waves. How's this going to play out for us physically? So last week, it was very tiring for a lot of energetically sensitives. Physically tired, felt really heavy. So there was this sort of heavy first chakra energy that was coming in here last week. And heavy doesn't always mean bad. It just means sort of dense, and it pulls us back into the physicality of our existence. All right. So that's something, that is best to be counteracted by just going with it. If you feel more tired, then just do what it is that you need to do, to feel a bit more energetic, which can be, taking, naps, meditating a little more. This week here will be a little different because we have a lot more emotionality. And so the way you want to counteract this emotionally is to go more into the sensuality of things, everything that really feels good for your body, baths, massages, really, really good food, enjoy here in the winter, in the northern hemisphere. We have summer coming in now, with all the colors and with all the scents and beautiful flowers. So this is why I'm wearing a red dress here today, to embrace that, embrace sensuality, allow yourself to sweat, allow yourself to lay in the sun, and really go with nature's, treasures. That's sort of my tip for you. Sun and water, those two elements here will be very conducive for dealing with solstice energies, because they represent masculine and feminine energies. And while, physically, it will make us feel a lot more alive than last week, it can also trigger a lot more of our repressed stuff in our body, okay? So I'm expecting quite a few people having issues with thyroid, gallbladder, kidneys, and liver, okay? Those are all sort of organs that are linked to anger energy or repressed fear. Fear and anger are linked with another, okay? Unexpressed anger leads to fear. And the reason why is the energetic levels that they represent. You've seen the vibrational scale of energies that I use for coaching here to show people kind of where they're at emotionally, mentally, physically, and so forth. And I've created this little gift here for all Sacred Self-Healing members that want to sign up in June 2018. You're going to get this map from me, laminated, and a guide on how to shift your energy. So this is a little perk just an idea that came up. Everyone who's coming to the Abundance Workshop next week will get this for free, along with this transCODES notebook here that we will use for journaling, calibrating truth, and working with our inner signals. So, knowing where we're at here plays into the physical, in that we need to know, what is conducive for our energy, what isn't, when do I need what, all right? And if that does not come into expression, then you run into danger, to almost become like a time bomb emotionally, and that can have an effect on, issues with gallbladder, kidney, liver, and people with the thyroid issues, may feel this flare up next week. So please take care of yourself next week. Emotionally, I've already mentioned this. This up and down will sort of trigger, maybe a powerlessness in us, or the feeling that, oh, what am I even doing this for? It's all for nothing. So you got to be careful with that, catch that before it can latch on, because you don't really want to continue to hide and run. This week is very important that you stay in truth, and really observe, where your energies get pulled into coping, where you get pulled into addictions instead of facing, instead of dealing with something, or, denying something. So I'm feeling that people will have a big issue with allowing truth to just be there and to accept it for what it is. And guys, without that, it's very difficult for you to work through these emotional ups and downs, because they trigger so much physical stuff and they trigger your ego. You really got to stay on top of that. The masculine and feminine energies, the balance thereof that is coming in through the solstice here in this week is playing out, is specifically in regards to mother and father energy. So everything that we've got unresolved here with our mommy and daddy issues, if you stay in truth, you'll be able to see how that actually directly affects your emotions and your reactivity. So stay on top of it. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being squeaky clean. It's about you becoming your own energy manager, becoming self-sufficient, because then you can actually go into a more expansive expression with yourself. And truth, doesn't have to be painful. It's only painful for as long as we avoid it. Mentally, you can probably already interpolate what that means. There's going to be lots of pros and cons, overthinking, even over talking. All right, so I've already made a mental note here to myself, since we have the abundance workshop next week here in Florida. And by the way, you still have a few days left here, 5 days left. We still have spots available to sign up and come to Florida and do 3 days integrity testing with that and find out, what your inner truth is. But I've already made a mental note to myself that I have to keep the lid on talking. So in times of that, we also tend to over talk things, and that distracts from truth a lot of times. It's like sort of trying to walk around what actually needs to be said. And what needs to be said is this is the clarity that comes out of knowing your own truth, your true needs, your true feelings, how you truly feel about somebody, and what you need in order to, perhaps work together or live together, or, plan a life together, or do a business project together. So this clarity is very, very important for next week. And if you can't do this, then, it will be tricky, because the whole collective is in that sort of almost repressed, wanting to run away, from big emotions state. So make sure that you know where you're at and what you need to move on, and then express that. And in love matters, socially, the way this will play out next week will be interesting, because there is this potentiality of meeting somebody really, really important, specifically here in the middle of next week. So that's why I decided to have this bifurcated arrow here, because for those of you who know who they are, or what they are, and what they need, and how they want to be with others, this can be a really, really, really cool week, guys. Just keep an eye on your second chakra stuff. That's where lust and desire and addiction comes in. And just being honest here, when you meet someone and it can spike that in you, then you need to catch, all the sexual attraction and all the projection and all that normally happens within ourselves, be it on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a mental level, spiritual level. You have to catch up before that latches on, because that's, sort of the intensity of it, can trigger, specialness, can trigger lust, can trigger, you know, things that are not conducive for your energy or the other person's energy in the end. Thank you, Danielle, for this very beautiful and heartfelt message here. Yes, it's a big part of my work and why I go through all these, you know, publications and everything, even though I don't get paid for them, to make you not feel alone. You know, I'm coming off that generation of empaths who literally had to go through fire and brimstone, and who were accused of being, you know, whatever, dark or whatever, because of my energetic sensitivity and because of the way I see the world. And so I know exactly what that feels like. It is not a lonely path, Danielle. Okay, you are not alone. And guys, if you can send a few heads up here to each other, not just Danielle, to each other, that you guys are all in the same boat. You guys don't know each other, but you come in here from all over the world, you know, to, you know, just reinforce the same message of truth within yourself, which is very, very powerful. So spiritually, I don't know if you saw this in our calendars. Actually, we have public energy sessions that people can join, you know, to work on specific subjects. We are having a twin soul reunion session tomorrow night, and I want to just mention this here real quick. The reason why I've planned out this session here on this day, and just as a reminder, I did this 6 weeks ago, you know, because I could see these energies coming in, and also, of course, the critical aspects of what happens when we meet our twin flame or twin soul. I've written articles about it, critical views about this, and I truly or strongly want to recommend to read this. This is a very tricky subject, okay? And while there is truth in it, there is also a lot of misinformation there. So we'll work on this here Friday night with the intention to see the larger goal and how twin soul energies can actually help us to, you know, reunite, to unify within. You know, so it's a soul unification. That is really what it is. The only reason why I call it twin soul is because, you know, it's geared towards people who are seeking this in others, and it is a sort of a realignment that we need to do here within ourselves, that we don't externalize this. So there's truth there, but there's a lot of traps there, and this is what we're going to work on Friday. And on Saturday we're going to have a very, very cool workshop here, remote healing workshop, 3 hours. So it's a combination of energy work and then live webinar right afterwards, talking about how to integrate, how to healthily integrate divine feminine energies for both genders, masculine and feminine. And we're going to be specifically looking at the destructive and creative powers of feminine energies, and why it's so difficult as a woman, as a man nowadays, in this time of you know, reintegration of the feminine, especially during the solstice. You know, why this is so difficult for us to find our place here. So I'm very excited about that. And then you know, spiritually, you know, besides the soul unification aspect, it's really the unification with the whole, you know. So that's where I got this water hole, you know, of the universe from, because if we cannot see ourselves as part of the whole, and loneliness and separation and all that, of course, you know, is what we're dealing with as one of these difficulties that come in through our childhood, that comes in through some of our trauma, some of our mommy and daddy stuff, you know, then we cannot really link into this divine or universal abundance field, okay? And this is the energy effect here of this next week, and also the tip for those of you who want to actively do energy work is to really watch what you attract into your life. I see this as a mirror. Every person, especially our relationships, especially, you know, our loved ones, are direct mirrors of, you know, what we cannot yet accept or love about ourselves. And also make sure that in interaction, you know, with others, it's this sort of new paradigm of interacting with others. I call this rules of engagement. When we identify ourselves as a true self and we want to live as a true self, we want to live and manifest a life as a true self, then we also have to see this in the other. So in my definition, twin soul is when two people can come together and interact with another on a true self level. And that then brings a whole new sort of set of rules in regards to freedom, in regards to, venting out emotions, in regards to projecting my expectations or my fantasies onto you, in regards to, the integrity and the ethos of a true self relationship. So these are very complex topics here for this next week. And I hope it worked for you, splitting this up into these different layers of perception and also different layers of self-healing work. I gotta get ready and hurry up here for the crypto spiritual energy update, where I take those collective energies that are coming in and translate this into the financial, into the cryptocurrency market. This may be a little weird for you, but especially today, I'm going to introduce something very, very interesting that I have been waiting for ages, and even tried to establish this myself in a smaller version. And many of you will be very interested in that, how spirituality can actually merge with money, because this is really, one of the biggest issues here for energy workers, for empaths, and for healers. How can I realize this? How can I make money with this? And I found something, guys. Sounds almost too good to be true, but what if you could get paid for meditating? So let's look at this here in the crypto spiritual energy update in 25 minutes. And I want to thank you for your attention, for this beautiful audience that you've been here today, through your support and your hearts. And I wish you a wonderful solstice next week. If you want to meet me, work with me, this is your only chance once a year, to actually do this in person here during our abundance workshop in Florida next week. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Hope to see you next week.